Welcome to another one of my YouTube video, guys, where I share with you just how I grow orchids in Jamaica. Now, I know you enjoy when I go on my doctor's visits, and so today, guys, I'm on another expedition where I will be sharing with you an extraordinary orchid garden. And so I'd like for you to stick around and you will see some beautiful and extraordinary display of orchids in this beautiful garden. Welcome back, guys. So today we are visiting this beautiful garden in Jamaica, which is predominantly filled with orchids. Most of the orchids that are displayed here in this garden are actually the Sun Vanda, the Makora orchids, the Aranda, and the Arantanda orchids. Now just look how beautiful they are. The colors are just so bright, so striking, and the blooms are just so huge. I'm now going to show you some different features in this garden. So this section is under this beautiful tree, which actually provides some shade for these orchids. It's a very warm area, and so it is important that we actually keep these plants somewhat semi-shaded for them to really put on the kind of show that they are putting on right now. In addition to the tree, they have to be watered quite frequently. They are actually watered at least once per day and sometimes even twice per day. And that is important to really get them to keep healthy and maintain the kind of bloom that they are exhibiting here today. Isn't that a beautiful one, guys? Oh yes, it actually is. And this gardener actually uses a number of clay pots to incorporate into the garden. And of course, you know, we like with clay pot right here in Jamaica. Just look at the amount of sprays that are on this one plant. And of course, it is outdoor, actually in the full sun in a concrete container. Wow. Look at this one, guys. This is actually well, I'm not seeing the ID, but this is just a beautiful plant here that is mounted on this wood right here. And if you notice the different colors at different stages of the plant, you're seeing the bright yellow and you are also seeing the orange, and it is actually the same plant, guys. So this is what happens with some of these plants, especially those from the Browtonia and some of them the Catalea Alliance. You will see that happening with some of them. This other area actually has other plants like the desert rose, and these desert rose, you notice, are incorporated with the orchids as well. Some dendrobium orchids on the outdoor, and these are actually in the full sun, guys, and look how beautiful they are. So I tell you, we normally grow our orchids under greenhouse, under shade cloth and so forth, but you realize that they will do well in the full sun as well. So look at what I'm seeing right here, guys. This is actually a cluster of the Prince Norodom orange. This plant is really a very unusual one. And what I noticed with this grower actually clusters it and it makes it look so beautiful. Look at these others and just look how healthy they are. And because of the way they are clustered, you find that it gives you this full, this stunning display. Oh my God, they are just so beautiful. Somehow, I don't know why though, I just don't have any luck with this plant, because each time I buy it, it just dies. I'm not sure what I'm not doing right with it. But it is a beautiful one, and it's not a very popular one. I'm not seeing it a lot of places. But nevertheless, this one is really a beautiful one, and is one that I really would love to have even one plant of in my garden. But I find it doesn't do well in my area for whatever reason. I have no clue, but you know, I'm not going to give up. I'm going to still try. So I'm going to purchase another one and see what happens. Now look at this one right here. This seemed to be one of the Merv Helvetus cross with the Vanda Adisac. And that's a beautiful one. Yes, I'm looking at the ID right here. And of course, that is exactly what it is. But look at this cluster around here. This cluster of blue orchids. And you know, when you put them together like this and they put on this show, it just makes it extraordinary. And that is one of the beauty about clustering it. So in this garden, you'll notice that a lot of that takes place where the plants of the same color, same type, same everything are clustered together, forming a nice arrangement. This now is a lovely Broadtona cross. And yes, guys, look at that. That is mounted. And did you know that Broadtona orchids are actually found in the natural environment in Jamaica? Yes, guys. And so they just form a nice part of our arrangement in our garden. This driftwood corner, guys, is another area which is just beautiful. It's just natural and create this rustic look. Look at this plant. This is actually a miniature Renanthera orchid. The blooms are so tiny and they are beautiful. I'm actually seeing that one for the first time. And it is right there by that driftwood arrangement. Really, really beautiful. Just look at that. Really, really, really beautiful, guys. Yes. And of course, incorporated in this garden, you'll see some bromeliads. And they really help to create fullness in the garden. This garden has a lot of features, you know. Look at this area with the tillandsias. How beautiful it is. You find these air plants, they're all over the place, but look at how beautiful it can be when they are clustered. And these are actually mounted right here on this piece of driftwood. And isn't that gorgeous, guys? Of course it is. Look at that again. Look at the clustering of blue orchids right there. And just look at that pathway, how beautiful it is. Oh, yes, it is. Of course, you know, guys, I love to visit these gardens, you know, because when you visit these gardens, this is where you get the inspiration and the ideas from. And I'm sure you like to come along with me as well on these visits. Just look at that. Isn't that beautiful, guys? Really, really beautiful. Okay, so this is showing you guys some other plants that are incorporated, some more tillandsia and so forth in this garden. Look at that. And look how beautiful they are. And if you notice, most of these plants are actually blooming. If they're not blooming, they're in spikes. If they do not have unestablished blooms, they're actually in spikes. Isn't that a sea of orchids, guys? This garden also boasts some really beautiful garden ornaments. When I look at what is presented here, I am sure, guys, that every single one of us plant growers would love our own garden to look even just a quarter of what this extraordinary garden is. Yes, just so beautiful. Nicely arranged, nicely displayed, and just look at the colors, how stunning they are. They are just so bright, they are just so stunning. And look at the formation of these flowers, how perfectly formed they are. Just look at that. So looking at these, guys, you can see that the keep and care of this garden is actually an everyday task. When you look and see what is happening here, you would have realized that. Now look at this Browtonia orchid. This Browtonia orchid, guys, is putting on a very splendid show. This is a very unusual one, and this, I'm sure, is one from our orchid guru, Claude Hamilton. Isn't that a masterpiece, guys? Yes, it is a masterpiece. And of course, you know, our orchid guru, Claude Hamilton, he actually masters the breeding of Browtonia orchids right here in Jamaica. This is a new setup of Browtonia orchids. And it's not fully established, but in a while, I'm sure it will be. Just how beautiful these are. These are actually on totems. Yes, on metal totems, if you notice, that are made from galvanized wire. And once you do these and you put them in the garden, eventually they become established and they do pretty well. Just look at that yellow. Oh my Lord, you know, a yellow orchid or yellow plant in general it takes the show for me, because what it does, it actually pops in that garden. And so you spot it actually from a mile and it will draw you in. Just look at that sea of orchids right there. Isn't it beautiful? I am sure it takes a lot of work to maintain this garden and to make it into what it is. This is another area with some orchids right around the lipstick palm. The lipstick palm is actually one of those palms that everybody would like to have in their garden right here in Jamaica. But you don't get them very readily, and when you do, they are really on the higher price side. But look at how it is incorporated right here in this garden with the snow-capped orchids right around it. Just look at that cluster, guys, of snow-capped orchids. They are just so beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. I tell you, this is just giving us more ideas, also cause us to want to go out there and buy more orchids. But nothing is wrong with that, because the more the better. The more orchids we have in our garden, the nicer our gardens look. And if you look there, right beside the snowcap, you also have clusters of bromeliads that are mounted as well. And that is really an awesome area in this beautiful garden. I am really enjoying. I'm enjoying this tour, guys, and I hope you're enjoying it as much as I am enjoying it too. It is just so beautiful. Look at the snow cap. Oh my God, look at them, just how beautiful they are. Have you ever thought about just clustering your orchids in this manner? If you haven't, now you see the difference it makes when you do them like that. So in this garden, you have areas with a variety of colors, and you have areas with clusters of the same colors. So guys, we are moving towards the Protonia area. This area has quite a number of Protonia orchids mounted on this piece of wood here. Just look at how beautiful that is, guys. Oh my God. And on that wood, you also have some tillandsia and other orchids that are not in bloom at the moment, but just zero in on the Protonia. Guys, look at how beautiful that is. That is really a lovely one. And below that, there are other Vanda orchids. This looks like the tricolor, the brown one, and it is just beautiful and putting on this stunning show. Very nice, guys. Very nice. I love this area. I love this garden, and I really hope you are loving it too. Just look at what we're seeing right here. Of course, you know I love to do these visits because it really inspires me. And then when I go back home, of course, I'm going to see how I can rearrange, and I can add, and I can adjust, just to see if I can get my garden to look just as beautiful as some of these gardens that I would have visited. And of course, you get ideas from them, and that is why I really love to do these visits, because sometimes you're not thinking about how, you know, some things that you can do, but when you see somebody else who does it, then you realize that, oh, but you know, this is so simple, and I could have done it this way instead of this way. So, and then too, sometimes when our plants are not doing well and we go out and we visit other gardens and we speak with the persons and they share some of the things that they do to make their gardens into the beauty that it actually is. And if you notice here, you can incorporate other types of plants into the garden. They don't all have to be orchids, you know. You can have a combination of various plants complementing your garden. It enhances the garden, and it also breaks it up and sometimes create that pop in the garden. The keep and care for this garden is an everyday routine. Every single day, it takes hours for these plants to be watered properly, because remember, when you are watering Vanda orchids, you have to water them to the extent where the color of the roots change from silver to green. And that, especially when you're in an area that is really warm, it really takes a lot of watering for that to happen. And because this area is so warm, then this has to be done every single day. It takes a couple of hours for this to happen. Just look at these that are mounted here, guys. Oh Lord, they are just so beautiful. And notice the wire baskets that they're also in. Okay, taking an aerial view of things in this garden. Just how beautiful that is. I hope you are enjoying this, guys. And of note, Vanda orchids are really heavy feeders, and so you have to fertilize them quite frequently. Some persons may fertilize once per week, some persons once every 2 weeks, Some persons every time they water. But whichever you choose what best works for you. So fertilizing your orchids, guys, are very, very important for the growing and, you know, getting healthy plants and getting them to bloom the way you want them to bloom. So you can fertilize weekly. Some persons do that. They fertilize with a weak fertilizer every single week. Outside of that, depending on what the manufacturer recommend, you can also look at that and do accordingly. It also depends on the time that you have to spend with your plants, because some persons, especially if they work from home, they may have more time to take care of their plants than somebody who goes out to work every day. And so depending on your situation, you will develop a routine based on your personal situation, and that is important. Outside of fertilization, it is also important that you try to prevent insect and pests and bacteria or viruses on your plants. In order to do that too, you will have to have a routine in place, whether you want to do a weekly spraying routine or you want to do it up on the presence of a problem. But you have to be careful with that, because sometimes when the problem is identified, it is far gone, and then it will take you some time for your garden to recover. And so what is important is that you develop a routine, whether you want to do it weekly, and if you do it weekly, then you will be doing a protective spraying so that you eliminate and reduce the introduction of pests and so forth on your plants. For those who don't have the time and do not like the use of too many chemicals, you can do it perhaps once per month, depending on your situation and where you are, or every 3 weeks. Or there are some persons who may do it every other week. So it all depends on your situation and what really works for you and where you are located. Because if you are located in an area that is really warm, that area may require a lot more spraying than an area that is cool, and a lot more spraying for insects than the area that is cool. However, the area that is cool will require a lot more spraying for fungal and bacterial infection. So according to your situation, you try to work things out. But all in all, this is just such a beautiful, beautiful garden, guys. And I really, really enjoyed this visit. Look at this, how the Vanda orchids are actually mounted on the palm tree. And of course, you know, we love our palm trees in our yard. They take a while to grow if you never plant them before, but guess what? Plant them still, because eventually they will grow up to being that fixture in your yard that you can use to plant your orchids under or on. I want to use the opportunity to thank the owner of this garden for really allowing me to showcase this garden. I really, really appreciate that, and I'm sure you will appreciate that too. So guys, we have come to the end of another one of our videos. I really hope you enjoyed, and if you did, don't forget to give this video a thumbs up. And so you never miss another one of my YouTube videos. If you haven't yet done so, please subscribe to my channel. And as we say in Jamaica, just come with me now, follow back on me. This is the Orchid Doc, and I am growing orchids right here in Jamaica. Thank you so much for watching.